Okay, is anybody watching this still dumbfounded on how we went from this?
Our relationship is so remarkable precisely because it seems so unremarkable, which is why Americans often are surprised when our favorite American actor or singer turns out to be Canadian.
Over to this.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful, but it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have.
Okay, we all know how we got here. And yeah, it's because of one orange idiot. But sometimes I still wake up in the morning wondering, is this actually happening? And unfortunately, it is. Today's video is a follow-up to one I did earlier about an Australian journalist who was detained and asked some flat-out ridiculous questions. And yes, it really did happen. To show solidarity with our Australian cousins, all backgrounds in this video are from their incredible country. Now, I've only been to the Gold Coast so far, but I'm already planning a trip back next year. If you're from Australia, drop a comment and let us know where we should visit. Alright, let's get into the follow-up video.
Alistair Kitchen joins me now from Australia. Alistair, thanks for joining, and I've got to say this. I've been sharing this account because I find it so unbelievable what happened to you. So you've been a student at Columbia in the NMFA program. You'd written a Substack on the protests, sort of your chronicling of it. You were sympathetic to the protests. You come to the U.S. planning for a trip. You get the right paperwork. You land in LAX. You get pulled immediately. Then what happens?
Then I get taken into a back room. As you said, my phone was demanded and my passcode was demanded. And I was told that if I didn't hand it over, I would be put on the next plane home. Now, I complied. And the reason I complied is that, frankly, no one ever read my blog. Anyway, I was worried, of course, that the United States would be concerned about students that had studied at Columbia. But I never expected that my Substack would be cause for attention.
Now this part hit a little bit closer to home for me, especially being a new content creator. Alistair wrote a blog sharing his thoughts on the situation in the Palestinians. Nothing extreme, just his own opinion. But that was enough for the US border agents to flag him before he even landed. He didn't even think anyone would read his Substack, but they clearly did. They meaning the US government. Now I know some of you have asked me for my name, or said that you would like to meet in person or see me on camera. But hearing stories like this, especially with this kind of content I post, it doesn't make me exactly feel safe.
Nonetheless, I had taken those posts down. I had taken them down 42 to 72 hours before I got on the plane. So by the time I got taken to secondary processing and my phone was demanded from him, it was already too late. They had already read my information and they had already marked me for interrogation.
The CBP agent who's interrogating you says, look, we both know why you are here. It's because of what you wrote online about the protests at Columbia University. And then proceeds a, genuinely insane, ideological interrogation, essentially, about the granular specifics of your individual views on the Israel-Palestine conflict.
That's exactly right. Ideological interrogation is exactly the right term. They wanted to know what my thoughts were, and they wanted to police those thoughts. And I felt in that moment that how I answered about what I believe would be the marker of whether or not I made it into the United States. And I can tell you exactly what I told them, which is that I feel that this is a horrific conflict that needs to be and can be brought to an immediate end. I was asked to name, students that I studied with. I was asked to name protesters that I observed.
We've all been through the usual border questions. Where are you going? How long are you staying? What hotel are you staying at? The pretty standard stuff that we're always normally asked. But being asked how you would resolve a conflict in the Middle East, that's not routine. That's judgment. And let's be honest, your answer depends on whether or not the border guard agrees with you or not. Now, most people crossing the border aren't journalists like Alistair, but the questions they're asking now, they don't feel like simple screening questions anymore. They feel like they're trying to catch you before you even step into the country.
But the entire time, I was trying to remind them that while I was at the protests day in, day out, I understood myself to be there in the capacity as a writer, as a journalist. Sympathetic, no doubt, to the protesters, but I was doing journalism.
They get into like stuff about like, do you support a two-state solution? Which again, like they've called the guy off who's just visiting the U.S. from Australia. He's like, they want to know your like specific position on the two-state solution.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, I love America. I've been there many times. I was going there for 2.5 weeks to like drink beers with my friends, and all of a sudden, I'm having this debate with a CBP officer who wants to know whether I think a one or two state solution is more plausible. He wants to know whether how indeed Israel could bring this conflict to an end, because I insisted that they could. It was the most extraordinary conversation that I have ever had.
You have 2 rounds of this I want to know, but I want to get to this detail. They search your phone, and they make you go through your phone. And by all of your phone, meaning I want you to tell us about the hidden folder that they make you unlock for them.
Now, as a content creator who talks about how fucked up the US is, I'd be screwed if they ever went through my phone. I can already picture it. They'd ask, so you're a YouTuber and you hate Donald Trump. Like, what the hell am I supposed to say after that? Sure, I'd wipe my phone if I ever went beforehand. That's a given. But that's not the point. The point is, if you've got anything on your device that doesn't align with the border guards, or Trump, or whatever the US government stance is that day, it could be used against you. Just listen to what Alistair had to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Every person, I think, watching this show will know that they have things on their phone that they would rather not share with officers of the United States government. I have a hidden folder on my phone, like many people do, which has photographs and personal information that I'd rather not share with anyone except my loved ones. Nonetheless, on threat of deportation, I was made to unlock that folder. In front of me, the CBP officer scrolled through it. And so, no doubt, we were looking at pictures of me and pictures of things that I would rather he had never seen.
Naked pictures, essentially, of you. It's described very well. By the way, it's an excellent piece of writing on your part.
Long story short, bring a burner phone or wipe anything off your device that might piss off the Orange Idiots fans at the CBP. You don't want to be giving them a reason to flag you. Now look, 9 out of 10 people might be fine crossing over, maybe even 99 out of 100. But if you're that one person they stop, or you're a person of color, or someone with public views critical of the US, and they know you're coming, do you really want to take that risk? Now this next part, this feels like a full-blown overreaction from the US government. Let's check this out.
Finally, after many hours, 2 rounds of interrogation, you're basically sent back onto the plane. And this is wild, too. So you have failed the ideological test. Or they don't like your pictures. I don't know. But I think the ideological test. And then they give your phone to the staff who say, you don't get it until you land. Is that what happens?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They put your passport and your phone into a sealed envelope. They hand it over to the flight attendant. And then, I don't know for sure, but as I understand it, the Trump administration requests of the airlines to withhold your goods until you arrive at your destination, which for me was 15 hours away in Melbourne, Australia. No one in Australia knew that I'd made it back onto the plane. No one knew where I was. And I landed in Australia feeling very alone.
By the way, in that interrogation, they get you to admit that you'd used marijuana, and that's ostensibly why you had lied on the application, which is why they're deporting you, but it was all pretextual, at least as far as I can tell from your story. Alistair Kitchen, thank you for sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
So this follow-up video brought a few more details about Alistair's situation, and they're worth hearing. This isn't speculation, it's a real account of what's happening right now. Depending on your background, your online activity, or even your career, you could be flagged for extra questions at the border. This video isn't meant to scare anyone. It's a reminder that things have changed. The days of casually crossing into the US without concern, those are gone. That's one reason why I'm planning my next trip to Australia instead. If you found this video helpful, a like and subscribe helps us to reach more like-minded Canadians and allies. Feel free to share it on Facebook or with friends who need to hear it. I'll leave you with a clip from Better Days between Canada and the US. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Mr. Prime Minister, after today, I think it's fair to say that here in America, you may well be the most popular Canadian named Justin.
That kid has had a great year. And of course, leave it to a Canadian to reach international fame with a song called Sorry.
The idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you can make it in both of our countries. And we see this in our current presidential campaign. After all, where else could a boy born in Calgary grow up to run for president of the United States?
May the special connection between our two countries continue to flourish in the years to come, and may my gray hair come in at a much slower rate than yours has.